I'm Taylor Vitani. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of The Living Show, Living in Shelby Township. I am here with my new friend, Marvin Petway. Marvin, what do you do? Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, presently I'm I'm actually the lead project forester with Relief Michigan.
Okay.
We're a statewide tree planting organization. We came out of an affiliation with the National Arbor Day Society, and we've been planting trees across Michigan for well over 33 years. We started in 1988. Melinda Jones is my director, does a great job. We planted in over 400 communities in Michigan, throughout Michigan. So, including Shelby Township.
All right.
Yes, indeedy, doing a beacon tree planting that I thoroughly enjoyed, and thank you for allowing me to participate in commemoration of some of the Shelby Township history.
Of course, we're so glad that you're able to meet with us today and talk about it. So today we are at the Onyx Tree Trail here in Shelby Township. So why don't we take a walk and kind of get to know the trees here a little bit?
Certainly, wonderful place to be.
So we just came across this beautiful white pine, and I want you, Marvin, to tell me all about this white pine.
Well, one of the things is obviously it's the state tree of the state of Michigan. And like you said, it is a gorgeous specimen. I mean, it's nice and open grown. It's allowed to do, it's branching all the way to the ground. Many times when they're growing natively or naturally, they grow so closely compact that the lower branches will be shaded out and they will basically drop off or be of no consequence.
Oh, wow.
This one is very, it's a specimen. It's a gorgeous specimen, including having the sign denoting that it's a white pine.
To let everyone know, right?
Yes, indeed. And another thing about this tree is that it has been used a great deal with regards to timber. White pine is a great lumber material, and regarding its place in our state, predominantly it grows better in the northern parts of the state.
That's what you were saying, is it's not exactly, it's a little bit native to this area.
Right. The soils in this area are naturally more alkaline, that is a higher pH than the tree usually likes to have, okay? By and large, because of our limestone parent material, parent rock, the soils are more alkaline. But white pine is quite adaptable. It's quite adaptable, and as you can see with these two right here, they're doing quite well. In terms of one of the curious things is that this is the new growth, this is like the second year growth, and then further in is the third year growth.
So it layers kind of a little bit.
Yes.
All right.
They're evergreen, so the needles don't all fall off the first year.
Really? Okay.
They do fall off. And those third year needles around mid-September, when everything else, when the deciduous trees, the leaf trees are turning their different colors, white pine does also.
Really?
Yes, and it gets that golden kind of look. And homeowners have called and said, "What's wrong with my tree?"
Right, like it's dying or something.
So,
okay.
No, that's just the needle drop of the third year or the inner growth of the tree.
Okay, interesting.
Yes, indeed.
Awesome. Have now come across these beautiful trees behind us. Over here we have the Norway spruce. Will you tell us a little bit about the Norway spruce, Marvin?
Well, first of all, it's from, in terms of its native range, is Northern Europe, Norway. But the other thing about it, it is one of those kind of trees that has a massive presence. As a matter of fact, you guys were telling me you're not quite able to get all of it into your camera view. And we love them because, one, they are very adaptable to our Michigan soils. They handle the soils well. They handle the climate well. Relatively long-lived. I mean, when we talk about trees, when we're talking about long-lived, we think of like 300-400-year-old oaks.
Right.
But the reality is, in many of our urban situations, our cities aren't that old.
Right.
Okay? So, just across the street where we have the construction going on, there's a number of folks who see that beautiful large Norway, and they got this new home, and they get one because it's so cute in the nursery, and they put it right next to their home. Right. And then
it's a little too big for comfort.
Yeah, yeah, it towers over the home. Mention was made of how they can get into power lines, including the house drops that sometimes come into folks' homes in the older parts of our cities. But it's a gorgeous tree. One of my favorites in a park situation just like this.
Okay. So
one of my recommendations would be is just observe it in the park.
Yeah, not so much home.
Not so much at home.
Okay. So what about this this is the maple, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
yep.
tell us about
that. It's a sugar maple, native to Michigan, and the leaf itself is the symbol for the Canadian hockey team.
Yeah.
Which one? Is it Toronto?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Toronto Maple Leafs?
Yep, Toronto Maple Leafs, yep.
Yep, that's it right there. One of my favorites in terms of, one, it's the source for many of our maple syrups. Not the only source, but the big name source is the sugar maple. Both in terms of the sap content. I worked with Meadowbrook, part of the MSU extension over in Novi.
Okay.
They have a number of sugar maples that they tap for the sap.
Really?
And then make maple syrup and then sell it to people.
So can this be tapped?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, all right.
Yep.
Beautiful.
In terms of the tapping operation, I was a gopher. That is, the gentlemen who were very knowledgeable, thank you all,
Yes.
would tell me to go for that and go for that. You know? So I really don't know the process that well.
Right.
But yes, it's native to Michigan. Again, it's one of those kind of trees that do well in parks. They don't do well roadside or intense urban situations because of a number of factors. Matter of fact, when it was noticed that some of the older sugar maples in some of our cities were declining, the researchers really had no definite answer for it at that time, and they called it maple decline.
Okay.
Which, if you have a PhD, you can say that with authority. If you don't, then everybody...
I do not have a PhD in trees. But that is so interesting. It's a beautiful tree.
And in the fall colors, that orange and red, that mottled kind of look is... That is characteristic. Yes, indeed.
Amazing.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Well, let's go see one more tree.
Okay.
Certainly not least, we have the Redbud. So to give us a little bit of information on this Redbud right here.
Wonderful tree. This is an ornamental tree. I've talked about the trees that I wouldn't recommend for most home situations, residential situations, street situations. This tree is great in a home situation.
So this is the tree you should buy for your home area. Okay.
It handles all of our Michigan soils from the wettest to the driest, certainly in our lower Michigan area. in terms of its ornamentation, its ornamental properties. It's one of the first ones to come out in the spring.
Okay.
It's called a redbud, and actually the flowers come on a nice little pink, look like little buds all over the tree.
Cool.
They're just the coolest thing. They're the harbinger of spring.
Okay.
You know,
So that's what the first signs that tell you that spring is here.
Yep,
Okay.
you can count on robin redbreast, which they're around all the time, but also redbud are very great trees.
Okay.
Now, I will caution you. You see these little seed pods
Yeah.
up in this one?
Yep.
Each and every one of those seed pods have maybe 4 or 5 seeds. Each one of those seeds will germinate. It is prolific.
Oh, wow.
If this were not native to Michigan, we would consider it invasive.
Okay.
Yeah, it is aggressive.
Okay.
And you can be aggressive whether you're native or non-native. But in terms of its ability to continue on with its progeny or through its progeny, no problem with redbud leaving.
So
the
lots
area.
of leaves
Yep.
is what you're telling me.
Another thing that the propagators, that is the plant producers who work with various characteristics of plants to give different forms, they now have red buds that have burgundy leaves.
Okay.
Very pretty. Forest pansy is one of them. They have weeping form, much like, say, the weeping willow, but this is a smaller tree.
It's like a smaller version of that then. Okay.
They have a couple of varieties of those. The ones that I most remember, most recently I looked up, was one that only gets about 8 foot high by about 4 feet wide.
Okay.
And it has this beautiful weeping characteristic.
Oh, wow.
That one would look great near somebody's entryway,
Yeah.
as opposed to a large Norway maple. Just a hint, folks.
Right.
But it is a great tree, very, very much adaptable to our climate and our location in terms of soils.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Marvin. We had so much fun talking to you about these trees, and I've really learned so much, and I know everybody watching has too. So thanks for joining us.
I only ask that you ask me back again.
Of course we will.